Commander Zektar's 4 eyes tracked a massive shape drifting through the asteroid field, each pupil dilating independently as he processed what his sensors were telling him. The bridge of the Kytherian dreadnought Void Render hummed with excited chatter from his crew, their chittering voices rising in pitch as they realized what they'd found. "Confirmed, Commander," reported Navigation Officer Thix, her mandibles clicking rapidly. "It's definitely human construction. Pre-war era, judging by the hull configuration." Zektar's primary arms crossed over his chitinous chest, while his secondary pair operated the tactical display. The human ship was enormous, easily twice the length of his own vessel, and half again as wide. Its hull was a patchwork of battle scars, meteor impacts, and what looked like hasty repairs made with whatever materials had been available. Entire sections were missing, replaced with crude welding and mismatched plating. "Look at this ancient relic," sneered Weapons Officer Grick, his voice carrying the typical Kytherian disdain for human technology. Humans always were better at making things look impressive than making them work. The crew chittered in agreement, but Zektar remained silent. He'd fought humans before, during the border skirmishes 15 years ago. They were crude, violent, and unpredictable, but they weren't stupid. Something about this ship bothered him. "Sir," called out Sensor Operator Yith, "I'm reading minimal power signatures. Life support appears to be functioning in small sections only. No weapon signatures, no engine activity. It's dead in space." "Any crew aboard?" Zektar asked. "Unclear. There's interference coming from the ship itself. Some kind of electromagnetic field that's scrambling our deep scans." Zektar's secondary arms tapped against his sides, a nervous habit he developed over years of command. Designated as potential salvage. Signaled the boarding craft. "Commander," interrupted Communications Officer Plex, "we're receiving a transmission." "From where?" "The human ship, sir." The bridge fell silent, except for the subtle hum of life support systems. Zektar's 4 eyes fixed on the communication station. "Put it through." The view screen flickered, static dancing across its surface, before resolving into an image that made several crew members step backward. A human face stared back at them, but not quite. The flesh was pale, almost translucent, stretched tight over sharp cheekbones. What should have been eyes were instead metallic implants that glowed with a soft blue light. Cables and wires ran from the back of the skull, disappearing into the darkness beyond the transmission's range. "Kytherian vessel," the thing said, its voice carrying an odd harmonic quality that suggested mechanical augmentation. "You are in violation of human space. Withdraw immediately." Grick's laughter was sharp and mocking. "Human space? The war ended 30 years ago, meat thing. Your kind scattered to the outer rim. This is Kytherian territory now." The human's head tilted slightly, and Zektar caught a glimpse of more hardware grafted into its neck. "War? There is no war. There is only the mission." "What mission?" Zektar found himself asking, though he immediately regretted engaging with the creature. Defense of humanity. Protection of human interests. Elimination of threats. The mechanical eyes seemed to focus directly on him through the screen. "You are a threat. We're not the ones hiding in a derelict ship," Grick snarled. "How many of you are aboard that floating scrap heap?" The human's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile, if not for the metallic joints visible at the corners. One. Yitha's voice cracked with disbelief. "One human on a ship that size? I am sufficient." Zektar's secondary arms began tapping more rapidly. Something was very wrong here. No human ship that size could be operated by a single person, especially not one that appeared to be more machine than organic. "What are you?" "I am Captain Sarachun, commanding officer of the Human Defense Force Vessel Retribution. I have been on patrol for 17,432 days. I have engaged and destroyed 47 alien vessels attempting to violate human space. You will be 48. 17,000 days? Yith whispered. That's almost 50 years. Your ship appears to be non-functional, Zektar said, trying to keep his voice steady. You have no weapons charging, no engines online. You're drifting. The thing that called itself Captain Chin tilted its head further, revealing more of the grotesque fusion of flesh and machinery. I am conserving power. The ship and I, we have learned efficiency. Ship and you? Grick demanded. What does that mean? We are one. The ship is my body. I am its mind. Together, we are perfect. A chill ran down Zektar's spine. He'd heard rumors during the war, whispers of human experiments, of soldiers who'd gone too far in their desperation to fight the Kytherian advance. But he dismissed them as propaganda. Your ship is damaged, he said. Half your hull is missing. You're running on emergency power. Appearances can be deceiving. Captain Chen's mechanical eyes seemed to brighten. We have had many years to prepare, many years to adapt, to become something new. Enough of this, Grick interrupted, turning to Zektar. Commander, this creature is clearly insane. One human on a derelict ship poses no threat. We should board now and claim salvage rights. Zektar studied the image on the screen. The human hadn't blinked once during their entire conversation. Its breathing was too regular, too mechanical. And those cables running from its skull, they disappeared into the darkness behind it. But he could swear he saw them moving. Captain Chun, he said slowly, your war's over. Humanity lost. Your people have retreated to the outer systems. There's no point in continuing this patrol. The war is not over until every threat to humanity is eliminated. The mechanical voice carried no emotion, no trace of the passion humans were known for. You entered human space. You became a threat. The equation is simple. We're not in human space, Grick shouted. This is Kytherian territory. Territory is claimed by those strong enough to hold it. Captain Chen's head straightened, and for the first time, Zektar saw something that looked like anticipation in those glowing eyes. Shall we test who is stronger? The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Zektar stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. Something was happening to the human ship. The electromagnetic interference was growing stronger, and he could swear he saw lights beginning to flicker deep within its damaged hull. Commander! Yitha's voice was barely a whisper. The ship, it's changing. The human vessel Retribution was transforming before their eyes, and Zektar felt his grip on reality beginning to slip. What had appeared to be battle damage was revealing itself as something far more sinister. The missing hull sections weren't gaps. They were openings, and from within them, metallic structures were extending like the organs of some mechanical beast awakening from hibernation. Sir, Yitha's voice climbed higher with each word. Those aren't repairs. The ship is unfolding. Sensor Officer Crix, who had been silent until now, suddenly straightened at his station. Commander, I'm reading massive power fluctuations. The ship's internal temperature is rising exponentially. How massive? Zektar demanded. His four eyes fixed on the view screen where the human ship continued its horrifying metamorphosis. The reactor core just jumped from minimal output to 40% capacity, 50%, 60%. Crix's mandibles clicked frantically. Sir, at this rate, it'll be at full power in minutes. That's impossible, Grick snarled. Human reactors take hours to reach full capacity. Their technology is primitive. Not primitive, Zektar whispered, understanding beginning to dawn. Evolved. The ship's hull was reconfiguring itself, damaged sections sliding apart to reveal weapon systems that had been hidden beneath layers of false plating. What they had mistaken for crude repairs were actually camouflage, a deliberate deception to make the ship appear non-threatening. Weapons signatures. Yith screamed. Multiple contacts. I'm counting. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Report. Zektar barked. 73 weapon systems and counting. Plasma cannons, kinetic accelerators, missile tubes. Commander, some of these weapon types aren't in our databases. Impossible. One human cannot operate 73 weapon systems simultaneously. Unless, came a new voice from the communications array, the human is the weapon system. Captain Chen's image had returned to the screen, but now they could see more of her, or what she had become. The cables they glimpsed earlier were fully visible now, hundreds of them extending from her skull, spine, and limbs into the walls of what was clearly the ship's command center. She wasn't sitting in a chair. She was integrated into the ship itself. Her nervous system directly interfaced with every system aboard. "You see now," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that matched the ship's resonant frequency. "The war changed us, made us into something new, something necessary." "You're an abomination," Grick spat, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "I am efficiency." Captain Chen's mechanical eyes tracked across the screen, as if she could see each of them individually. When the Kytherian Empire began its expansion, humanity realized we could not win through conventional warfare. Your ships were faster, your weapons more advanced, your numbers overwhelming, so we chose adaptation. The Neural Bridge Project, Zektar breathed. He'd heard whispers of it during intelligence briefings, rumors of human experiments in direct neural interface technology. "You know of it?" Captain Chen's head tilted in what might have been curiosity. "Yes, Project Prometheus. We called it the next step in human evolution, the ultimate fusion of man and machine. The project was terminated," Zektar said. "Our spies reported that all test subjects died during the integration process. Your spies were misinformed." The smile that crossed Captain Chen's face was terrible to behold. "The integration was successful. We simply chose to let you believe otherwise." On the tactical display, the human ship's power readings had reached 90%. The Retribution was no longer drifting. It was positioning itself, maneuvering thrusters firing with impossible precision. "How many of you are there?" Zektar asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Aboard this ship? Only me. In the fleet?" Captain Chen's eyes seemed to brighten. 57 vessels, each with a single operator, each perfectly integrated, each invisible to your sensors until we choose to reveal ourselves. 57? Grick's voice cracked. "That's impossible. Our long-range sensors would have detected." "Your sensors detect what we allow them to detect. We have had 30 years to perfect our stealth capabilities. 30 years to watch your empire expand. 30 years to plan." Zektar felt the deck plates beneath his feet vibrate as the Void Render's crew scrambled to battle stations. But he knew it was too late. They'd walked into a trap that had been set decades ago. "You've been hunting us," he said. "The missing patrol ships, the lost convoys. That was you. We protect human space." Captain Chen's voice remained emotionless, but there was something underneath it now, a cold satisfaction. "Your kind took our worlds, enslaved our people, scattered our children to the void. We remember. The war is over." Grick screamed. "We won. Humanity surrendered. Humanity adapted." The ship's hull was still reconfiguring, new weapon systems emerging from hidden compartments. "We became something you could not defeat, something you could not even comprehend." "Sir," you've interrupted, "I'm detecting multiple contacts on long-range sensors. They're everywhere. Dozens of them, all around us." The fleet. Zektar's mind reeled as he understood the scope of the trap. They hadn't just encountered one insane human in a derelict ship. They'd stumbled into the center of a web that had been patiently waiting for them. "What do you want?" he asked. "To complete my mission." Captain Chen's integrated form shifted, more machinery becoming visible as she moved. "To eliminate the threat to humanity. To ensure that no Kytherian vessel ever again violates human space. This isn't human space anymore. It is now." The ship's weapon systems were fully deployed, bristling from every available surface. "You see, Commander, you made a crucial error in your assessment. You assumed that because you won the war, you had defeated humanity. But you merely defeated the old humanity, the weak humanity, the humanity that fought with separate ships and individual consciousness." "What are you saying?" "I am saying that we are no longer human." Captain Chen's eyes blazed brighter. "We are something new, something better, something that exists solely to protect what humanity once was." The power readings hit 100%, and Zektar felt his world begin to crumble. The ship they had dismissed as a derelict was now revealed as the most advanced weapon system he had ever encountered. And somewhere in the darkness around them, 56 more, just like it were moving into position. Weapons charged, Captain Chen announced. Targeting solutions acquired. Prepare for engagement. The first shot came without warning, a lance of coherent energy that punched through the Void Render's shields as if they were made of paper. Zektar felt the deck buck beneath him as the ship's superstructure groaned under the impact. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in crimson as sparks cascaded from overloaded systems. Shields down to 60%. Crix shouted over the alarm klaxons. How did she penetrate our deflector grid? Because she's not using conventional weapons. Zektar realized, gripping a command throne as another blast rocked the ship. She's had 30 years to study our technology, to find weaknesses. On the main display, the Retribution had completed its transformation. The vessel now bore no resemblance to the derelict they'd first encountered. Its hull bristled with weapon systems that defied classification. Some recognizably human in origin, others clearly reverse-engineered from Kytherian technology, and still others that appear to be entirely new designs. Return fire, Grick screamed. All batteries. The Void Render's weapon systems unleashed their fury. Streams of plasma and kinetic projectiles converging on the human ship. But the Retribution moved with impossible grace, its maneuvers too precise, too fast for something of its size. Most of the shots missed entirely, and those that connected were absorbed by energy shields that seemed to adapt in real time. Direct hit on their forward hull. Yith reported. No damage. Their shields are modulating to match our weapon frequencies. Impossible, Grick snarled. Shield harmonics can be adjusted that quickly. They can if the shield generator is connected to a neural network capable of quantum calculations, Zektar said grimly. She's not just controlling the ship. She's become the ship. Another barrage from the Retribution tore through their remaining shields and carved deep gouges in the Void Render's armor. But these weren't killing shots. They were surgical strikes, disabling specific systems with terrifying precision. Engines are down, reported Engineering Chief Thax over the intercom. Main power coupling severed. Weapon systems operating on backup power only. She's crippling us. Zektar realized. She wants us alive. Commander! Yitha's voice was barely audible over the chaos. Long-range sensors are detecting the rest of the fleet. They're moving to surround us. The tactical display showed the horrifying truth. 57 contacts were converging on their position, each one broadcasting the same energy signature as the Retribution. They moved in perfect coordination, their formation too precise to be achieved by separate crews. A hive mind, Zektar whispered. They're all connected. Negative, came Captain Chen's voice from the comm system. We are not a hive mind. We are something far more dangerous. We're a unified purpose. The view screen flickered back to life, showing Captain Chen's integrated form. But now they could see more of the command center around her, and the sight made several crew members vomit. The walls themselves were alive with organic components. Neural tissue growing over metal frameworks, veins and arteries carrying some kind of fluid that pulsed with bioluminescent light. You want to know what we are? Captain Chen asked, her voice carrying harmonics from the ship's engines. We are the children of desperation. When your kind began your conquest, humanity faced extinction, so we chose transcendence. You chose abomination, Grick spat, but his voice lacked conviction. We chose survival. Captain Chen's mechanical eyes tracked the focus on him. Each of us volunteered for the integration process. We gave up our humanity to preserve humanity. We became weapons to protect those who could not protect themselves. The integration process, Zektar said. How many survived? Survival is a relative term. Captain Chen's head tilted, cables shifting like living things. Our body survived. Our mind survived. Our souls, that is a question for philosophers. Another barrage and surrounding fleet struck the Void Render, and Zektar felt the ship's death throes beginning. But still the shots were precise, disabling rather than destroying. Why aren't you killing us? He asked. Because you are more valuable alive. You will return to your empire and report what you have seen. You will tell them that human space is no longer undefended. You will warn them that the price of expansion has become too high. They'll never believe us. They will when more fleets go missing, when their border worlds begin to disappear, when their precious expansion grinds to a halt against an enemy they cannot see, cannot predict, cannot defeat. The tactical display showed the reality of their situation. The Void Render was surrounded, its weapon systems disabled, its engines dead. But the human ships weren't moving to finish them off. They were simply waiting. What happened to the rest of humanity? Zektar asked. The colonies, the civilian populations? They are safe, hidden, protected. Captain Chen's voice carried a note of something that might have been pride. While you believed you had won, they were rebuilding, growing stronger, preparing for the day when humanity would reclaim its rightful place in the galaxy. This is insane, Grick muttered. You've turned yourselves into monsters to protect people who no longer exist. They exist. For the first time, Captain Chen's voice carried emotion, a cold fury that made the ship's hull ring like a bell. They exist because we chose to become what we needed to become. They exist because we sacrificed our humanity so that theirs could continue. At what cost? Zektar found himself asking, what did you give up? Everything. Captain Chen's form shifted, more of her integrated body becoming visible. We gave up touch. We gave up taste. We gave up the ability to walk on solid ground or breathe unfiltered air. We gave up love, companionship, the simple pleasure of a sunset. We gave up our lives to become eternal guardians. And you think this is victory? Victory is not about what we gained. It is about what we preserved. The ship's weapon systems powered down, but the message was clear. They could be reactivated in seconds. Your empire expanded because you believed humans were weak, because you believed we would simply accept defeat. You were wrong. The war ended 30 years ago. Zektar said desperately, there's been peace. There has been preparation. Captain Chen's mechanical eyes seemed to look through him. We have spent every day of those 30 years becoming stronger, learning, adapting, evolving, and now we are ready. Ready for what? To remind the galaxy that humanity still exists, that we remember every world you took, every life you destroyed, every child you orphaned. The ship's hull began to shift again, weapon systems deploying, to show you that some prices are too high to pay. The communications array crackled with incoming signals, reports from other Kytherian vessels throughout the sector. All of them were under attack. All of them were being systematically disabled by ships that had appeared from nowhere. This is only the beginning, Captain Chen said. Return to your empire. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them that humanity has evolved beyond their comprehension. Tell them that the war is about to begin again. And if they don't listen, then they will learn the hard way that some enemies become more dangerous when you think you have defeated them. The Void Render limped through space, its hull scarred and systems failing, but alive. Zektar stood on the bridge, staring at the damage reports that painted a picture of surgical precision. Every critical system had been disabled, every weapon neutralized, every escape route cut off. Yet they lived. The human fleet had vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving only wreckage in the memory of those terrible mechanical eyes. Sir, Yilda's voice was hollow. We're receiving priority transmissions from command. They want a full report. Zektar's 4 eyes focused on the communication station. How could he possibly explain what they'd encountered? How could he make them understand that everything they thought they knew about humanity was wrong? Put me through to High Command, he said. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Supreme Admiral Vexhai, his ceremonial armor gleaming under the harsh lights of the Imperial War Room. Behind him, Zektar could see the familiar faces of the military council, all of them wearing expressions of barely contained impatience. Commander Zektar, Vexhai's voice carried the authority of absolute power. Your fleet has been out of contact for 6 hours. Explain. We encountered a human vessel, sir, a warship from the pre-war era. A single ship? Admiral Grexpol, head of naval intelligence, stepped forward. You lost contact with command because of one obsolete human ship? Sir, with respect, it wasn't obsolete. It was... Zektar struggled to find words. It was something else entirely. Explain. Zektar took a breath, knowing how insane he was about to sound. The ship was operated by a single human who had been surgically integrated with its systems. She claimed to be part of a fleet of 57 similar vessels, all commanded by humans who had undergone the same integration process. The silence that followed was deafening. Admiral Grexpo's mandibles clicked in what Zektar recognized as barely suppressed laughter. "You're telling me," Vexai said slowly, "that one human cyborg disabled your entire ship?" "Sir, the technology was beyond anything in our databases. The ship could reconfigure itself, adapt its shields in real time, and coordinate with other vessels through some kind of neural link." "Impossible," Grexpo scoffed. "Human technology is decades behind ours. Even their most advanced ships are primitive by our standards." "That's what we thought, sir. But this wasn't human technology as we knew it. This was something new, something that had been evolving in secret for 30 years. 30 years, Vexai repeated, since the end of the war. Yes, sir. The human claimed that the integration process, she called it Project Prometheus, had been ongoing throughout the war. They let us believe it had failed while secretly perfecting the technology. And where is this miraculous fleet now?" Admiral Grexpo asked mockingly. "Gone, sir. They vanished as soon as they had delivered their message, which was that humanity still exists, that they remember every world we took, and that they're going to take them back." The war room erupted in chittering laughter. Even Vexai's normally stoic expression cracked with amusement. "Commander," Grexpo said, wiping fluid from his eyes, "I think the stress of deep space patrol has affected your judgment. Humans are scattered across the outer rim, struggling to maintain basic colonies. They pose no threat to the Empire. Sir, I saw the ship. I spoke to the creature that was once human. She's not alone out there." "Creature?" Vexai's voice carried a dangerous edge. "You would have us believe that humans have turned themselves into monsters?" "Not monsters, sir. Weapons. Living weapons designed for one purpose: to protect humanity and destroy anyone who threatens it." "Enough." Vexai's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Commander Zektar, you will report to medical for a full psychological evaluation. Your claims are clearly the result of battle fatigue or possibly sabotage by human sympathizers. Sir, please, send a reconnaissance fleet to the coordinates I provided. You'll find evidence of the engagement. We will find evidence of your ship's system's failure." Grexpo interrupted. "Nothing more." But even as the Admiral spoke, new reports were filtering in. Communications Officer Plex gestured frantically at a station, and when Zektar nodded, he activated the ship's intercom. "Sir," Plex's voice was tight with fear, "we're receiving emergency signals from patrol fleets throughout the sector. The Domination is reporting contact with unknown vessels. The Conquest has gone silent. Sir, it's happening everywhere." The laughter in the war room died abruptly. Vexai's expression hardened as he turned to his own communication staff. "Confirm those reports," he ordered. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then Admiral Grexpo's aide whispered something in his ear that made the intelligence chief's face pale. "Supreme Admiral," Grexpo said slowly, "we've lost contact with 17 vessels in the past hour, all in different sectors. All reported encountering unknown ships before going silent. Survivors?" Vexai asked. 3 ships have been found drifting with all systems disabled but crew intact. They all report the same thing: encounters with human vessels of impossible capability." The war room fell silent, except for the hum of machinery. Zektar watched as the reality of the situation began to sink in. This wasn't the delusion of one battle-fatigued commander. This was a coordinated attack across multiple sectors. "Sir," Zektar said quietly, "the human I spoke to, Captain Chun, she said this was only the beginning. She said they've spent 30 years preparing for this moment." "Preparing for what?" Vexai's voice was barely a whisper. "To remind the galaxy that humanity still exists, and to take back what was taken from them. That's impossible. We scattered their fleets, destroyed their shipyards, occupied their worlds. Humanity is finished. Old humanity is finished," Zektar corrected. "But what they've become—" "Sir, We may have won the war, but we created something far worse in the process. Admiral Grexpole was consulting his tactical displays, his expression growing more grim by the moment. Supreme Admiral long-range sensors are detecting massive electromagnetic disturbances throughout the border regions. Whatever these ships are, they're interfering with our detection systems. How many? Unknown. They could be anywhere. We have no way to track them until they choose to reveal themselves. Vexhai stood in silence for a long moment, his four eyes fixed on the strategic display, showing the Kytherian Empire's vast territories. For 30 years, they have been the undisputed masters of this region of space. Now, in the span of a few hours, that certainty was crumbling. "Commander Zektar," he said finally, "your ship will return to base immediately. We need to debrief every survivor of these encounters." "Yes, sir." "And Commander?" Vexhai's voice carried a note of something that might have been fear. "In your opinion, what are these humans capable of?" Zektar thought of Captain Chen's mechanical eyes, of the ship that had transformed from derelict to death machine in minutes, of the cold fury in her voice when she spoke of protection and revenge. "Sir," he said slowly, "I don't think we're dealing with humans anymore. I think we're dealing with something that used to be human, but chose to become something else entirely. Something that exists for one purpose, to wage war against us. And how do we fight something like that? I don't know if we can, sir. They know everything about us, but we know nothing about them. They can hide from our sensors, disable our ships without destroying them, and coordinate across vast distances. They've turned themselves into the perfect weapons." "Perfect weapons for what?" "For hunting us, sir. For making us pay for what we did to them." The view screen went dark, leaving Zektar alone with the terrible certainty that the war was far from over. It was just beginning. 3 months after the encounter with the Retribution, the Kytherian Empire was bleeding, not from massive battles or grand campaigns, but from 1,000 small cuts that were slowly draining its strength. Supply convoys vanished without trace. Patrol fleets were found drifting in space, their crews alive but their ships systematically disabled. Border worlds reported strange sightings, ships that appeared on sensors for moments before vanishing again. Zektar stood in the Imperial War Room, no longer the confident commander who had sought easy salvage in an asteroid field. His promotion to admiral had come with a price. He was now the Empire's leading expert on the human threat, a position that brought him no joy. "Report," Supreme Admiral Vexhai commanded, his voice carrying the weight of an empire under siege. 73 vessels lost or disabled in the past month. Zektar began, his four eyes scanning the holographic display that showed the Empire's shrinking sphere of influence. "The humans are systematically targeting our supply lines, isolating our border worlds, and forcing us to consolidate our forces. Casualties? Minimal. They're still not killing us. Every disabled ship is left with life support intact, crew unharmed. It's psychological warfare at its finest." Admiral Grexpole, who had long since stopped mocking Zektar's reports, stepped forward. "Our intelligence suggests they're preparing for something larger. These raids aren't random. They're following a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" "They're cutting us off from the outer colonies. Every world we took from humanity 30 years ago is now effectively isolated. No supplies, no reinforcements, no communication with the core worlds." Vexhai's mandibles clicked in frustration. "How many ships do we estimate they have?" "Unknown," Zektar admitted. "Our best guess is still around 60 vessels, but they're impossible to track. They appear, strike, and vanish before we can respond. And, sir, there's something else." "What?" "The disabled ships. Their crews are reporting something new. Dreams. Visions. The humans are somehow getting into their heads." The war room fell silent. This was the first time anyone had mentioned psychological effects beyond the obvious trauma of encountering the transformed humans. "Explain," Vexhai ordered. The survivors described shared dreams of human colonies as they were before the war. They see families, children, peaceful worlds. Then they see our fleets arriving, our bombardments, our occupation forces. They're experiencing the war from a human perspective. That's impossible. Dreams can't be transmitted. Sir, with respect, 6 months ago we would have said it was impossible for a human to integrate with a starship. These beings have capabilities we don't understand. The tactical display suddenly flickered, and every officer in the room tensed. This was how it always started. System malfunctions, communication disruptions, the gradual awareness that something was wrong. Sir, Communications Officer Thex announced, "We're receiving a transmission on all frequencies." It's her. The main view screen activated, revealing the now familiar sight of Captain Chen integrated into her ship systems. But something had changed. The mechanical components were more extensive now, covering more of her body. Her eyes glowed brighter, and the neural cable seemed to pulse with increased activity. "Supreme Admiral Vex High," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the room's equipment hum in response. "I am Captain Sarah Chun of the Human Defense Force. I come with a message from a human people." "What do you want?" Vex High demanded. "To offer you a choice. The same choice you offered humanity 30 years ago, surrender or destruction." "Impossible. We are the Kytherian Empire. We rule 1,000 worlds." "You ruled them." Past tense. Captain Chen's head tilted, and for a moment, Zektar caught a glimpse of something almost sad in those mechanical eyes. "Your empire is collapsing, Admiral. Your supply lines are cut. Your border worlds are isolated. Your fleets are being systematically disabled. How long do you think you can maintain control? We have 10 times your numbers." "Numbers are irrelevant when you can't find your enemy. We have evolved beyond your ability to detect us, track us, or predict us. We are everywhere and nowhere. We are the shadow that follows your fleets, the whisper in your communications, the nightmare in your dreams." Zektar stepped forward. "Captain Chun, I've studied your raids. You're not trying to destroy us. You're trying to teach us something. Perspective, Admiral Zektar. You are learning what it feels like to be hunted, to be constantly afraid, to watch your territory shrink and your people live in fear. You are experiencing what humanity experienced during your expansion. And when we've learned this lesson, that depends on your response. Humanity offers a Kytherian empire the same terms you offered us. Withdraw from human space, return the world you took, and live in peace. Or face the consequences of your refusal. Those worlds are ours by right of conquest, as they were ours by right of first settlement. Rights can be renegotiated." Captain Chen's image flickered, and suddenly the view screen showed multiple perspectives. Dozens of human-integrated vessels surrounding the Imperial capital world itself. "We are not the scattered refugees you defeated 30 years ago. We are the children of that defeat, forged in the fire of your conquest, shaped by your cruelty into something you cannot comprehend." The implications hit Zektar like a physical blow. "You're here, in the core systems. You've been here all along. We have been everywhere, Admiral, watching, learning, waiting for the right moment to remind you that some prices are too high to pay." "What price?" Vex High's voice was barely a whisper. "The price of believing that victory means your enemies are defeated. The price of assuming that those you conquer will accept their fate. The price of forgetting that evolution is not just biological. It is also technological, psychological, and spiritual." The display shifted again, showing the human ships beginning to move, not toward the planet, but away from it, a demonstration of power rather than an attack. "We could destroy your capital world," Captain Chin continued. "We could cripple your entire fleet. We could end your empire in a single coordinated strike. But that would make us no different from you. Instead, we offer you the opportunity to choose a different path. What happens if we refuse? Then you will learn what we learned 30 years ago, that sometimes the only way to preserve what you value is to become something you never wanted to be. We sacrificed our humanity to preserve humanity. You may find that preserving your empire requires sacrificing your empire." The transmission began to fade, but Captain Chen's voice remained clear. "You have 1 standard year to consider our offer. Withdraw from human space, return what you took, and live in peace. Or face the consequences of your choice. And if we fight, then you will discover what we discovered. that there is no limit to what beings will do to protect what they love. We became monsters to fight monsters. We became weapons to fight weapons. We became something beyond human to preserve humanity. Ask yourself, Admiral, what will you become to preserve your empire? The view screen went dark, leaving the war room in stunned silence. Zektar stared at the tactical display, watching as the human ships vanished from sensors one by one, leaving no trace of their presence except the memory of their terrible capability. Sir, he said quietly, I recommend we consider their offer. Never, Vexhai snarled. The Empire does not negotiate with terrorists. With respect, sir, these aren't terrorists. There's something far more dangerous. They're the consequences of our own actions. We created them when we scattered their people and thought we had won. Now they've come back to collect the debt. And you think we should simply surrender? I think we should remember that evolution works both ways. They evolved to become the perfect weapons against us. If we force them to complete their mission, we may find that we've evolved into the perfect targets. Vexhai stood in silence for a long moment, staring at the display showing the vast extent of the Kytherian Empire, an empire that was now revealed to be surrounded by enemies who had learned to become invisible, untraceable, and utterly dedicated to their cause. 1 year, he said finally. They've given us 1 year to decide. Yes, sir. And in that year, we need to determine if we're willing to pay the price of continuing this war. Because if Captain Chun is right, if there truly is no limit to what they'll do to protect humanity, then we need to ask ourselves, is there a limit to what we'll do to protect the Empire? As the war room began to empty, Zektar remained behind, staring at the display. Somewhere out there, 57 ships crewed by beings who had sacrificed their humanity to preserve humanity were waiting for an answer, and he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever the Empire chose, the galaxy would never be the same. The war was far from over. It had simply evolved into something neither side had imagined possible, and the price of that evolution would be paid by everyone, victor and vanquished alike. Hashtag they saw an old human warship, then realized it was just warming up